Welcome, everyone, to episode 19 of the draft. We are officially past the midpoint way of the season here. Phil and I were just talking about it before the show. Kind of crazy how the weeks have flown by. The 19th episode tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, I am joined by Phil Eastman, Tino Patino. We will do a quick recap of the race last week. Tino, I'm going to start with you. How did you like the Pocono race? Did you enjoy it? Did you win any bets? What'd you think about the ending too? I just want to get both your thoughts about that. What's up?
So, I'm super excited to be back. I can't believe 19 weeks already. And the 19 car won last weekend at Pocono. That was awesome to see. I think that part of the race was really cool to me. In terms of betting, I was able to get, two top fivers in there, Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney. That was nice to see. And I had, those same guys outright to win. Same thing with Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin finished in second. So I wasn't too, in terms of the race overall, I thought it was a good race in terms of Pocono. And I did see the stat after where no one passed for the lead under green flag conditions. That was a little concerning to me. But when you look at it, the track that it is, Pocono's, at least in my experience, known for the strategy plays, right? Known for, what can the crew chiefs get on top of the box and figure out how to give the drivers an advantage in order to jump some people on pit road or have, fuel mileage at the end, which we did see with Chase Briscoe. So I think overall, I thought it was a good race. I was also there live in person, so I'm a little bit skewed because I feel like any race I'm at, just the environment and the energy of it all does kind of heighten my experience from a certain standpoint there. But overall, I say good race. Did hit some bets. My draft card, not the best. I'm in a slump right now, so got to pick it up there, but was happy to see Phil get the win. Phil Okino, as I was calling him last week from his home track. So overall, good weekend. I'm excited to talk more here with you guys.
All right, awesome. Yeah, had the home track victory for Phil. I'll bring that up here. Yeah, I think as far as the strategy goes, that part of it was fun. I think the frustrating part was just the glaring issue with the car at the end when you have a guy who's, saving fuel and other people going full throttle behind him and can't get by. I just think that was, part of the reason why you see the Gluck poll. Was it a good race? No, won this week. One of the lowest Pocono races and races in general, as far as that score went. Phil, congratulations on the victory here. This was we've had a couple close weeks. Now you clear me by 10 points here, get your victory. Very tight race here. 5.5 wins, 4.5 wins, 7 wins. Great picks this week. How'd you enjoy the race? You win any bets? What'd you think?
Yeah, appreciate it, and happy to get the win on the draft. It was a great week for me all around. So I won the draft, got to go to the truck race in person. Had some weird stuff happen with the truck race. That race was cursed for gamblers, I think, or at least my betting card. But like weird flat tires under caution, very strange. But had a blast at the track. Picked myself up a new hat, among other things. But
Nice.
yeah, the betting card for Sunday, dude. I'm not one to stick my chest out, but my podcast picks, my betting card had like an unbelievable week. We added only 2 bets on race day, and all together on the card, I only missed 2 bets. So it was like, or 3 units total missed. So it was a great day. The race itself, I totally understand, people being frustrated. Like Tino said, like I'm a little biased just because I want Pocono to get some good hype, but it makes sense. Somebody makes a mistake and it's like a happy accident. Understand the frustration there. So yeah, I do think there's a little bit to, look into from NASCAR's point of view and why, 2 really good cars going at full song can't track down a guy saving fuel. But it did bring us, into the burn bar from Prime, which was sick. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration, but I was happy. I feel like those types of races that aren't necessarily loved are better for gamblers. So I don't know if there's a big correlation there, but
Yeah.
I ended up having a good day that on the betting card.
Yeah, the speed really tracked for us at win the race too. I needed Denny or Busher to win at the end. Really needed Denny to make that pass. Still ended up but wasn't even up a unit. I was just barely up, got my money back plus some. So um, wasn't great there. I did bet some of the fast laps, so it's great to see Denny get the fastest lap back eventually. I was real frustrated when Keselowski had the fastest lap at one point in the race, and then he pushed Bush or Barry, and then Barry ended up with the fastest lap on that lap. I think I was like, man, what a way to lose that one. So luckily, Denny got back in the green. So yeah, overall, race kind of is what it is. We expect the strategy, a lot of speed. If you guys haven't checked out the in-car cameras on the restarts, those are sweet. Like, especially there where you can just fan out so wide and see these guys make these moves. The in-car cameras that they're doing this year are just phenomenal. So check those out. All right, so let's get into this week here. One thing I'll mention, a lot of the stats and everything you're going to hear tonight come from wintherace.info. We're doing 40% off. It's just $30 a month throughout the rest of the year. So you can either scan that little code on there or just go to wintherace.info and check it out. Again, congrats to Phil. And now we're going to get onto the race preview and head right into Atlanta. A completely different style race here. The boys are going to be drafting, and they're going to be super tight on the track here all throughout. Not going to see him spaced out really like last week. So, Phil, why don't you tell everyone what we can expect here just from a quick race preview at Atlanta, or I guess we call it Echo Park Speedway now?
Yeah, it's new Atlanta in a couple different ways. One being a brand new name with a brand name in there. Echo Park Speedway is the new name of the track. We call it New Atlanta because it's definitely worth noting. You're going to hear us talking about it till we're blue in the face tonight. It's a reconfigured racetrack. I'm not calling it a super speedway. I'm calling it a drafting track. Because you have that similar style racing to the super speedways, but there's more handling involved because it's a 1.5-mile racetrack. And so it's got that like wild card element to it to be aware of. So if you're newer to gambling this year, maybe you picked up this show halfway through the year, haven't really seen those drafting or super speedway style tracks. That's why the odds are inflated this week. It makes it much tougher to win, much tougher to handicap because, anything could happen at any turn. Somebody gets squirrely and wipes out half the field. So I did hear a stat that said there were 47 accidents, like crashing accidents since 2022. And that's more than the last 20 years combined at Atlanta. So it really does bring that element of wild card to it. This race is going to have, it's, by the way, on TNT, night race, Saturday night. Got all the, cool things there. It's going to be the first race on TNT. So we'll see how they do. But the 3 stages, I think mildly interesting, 60 lap stage 1, but then 100 to stage 2, 100 in stage 3. So a little different than kind of what we're used to. It's more of a progressive lap number on a week to week basis. But yeah, in the last 7 races is really where you're going to focus because that's when they switched over to this reconfiguration. And we've seen 1 Toyota victory in those 7 races, and it came last year with Christopher Bell. Other than that, it's been Chevy and Ford has a couple with Joey Logano. So 2 winners starting on the pole, but we have seen some guys come from the back. Bell last year started 32nd, Suarez 23rd. So yeah, it really is that wild card type of race. So I'll kick it back over to you, Brian, and
Yeah.
get us going.
That's why, I pulled up this. It's just like everyone who's podiumed at Gen 7 Atlanta races. This is from Loop Edge on wintherace.info. And you can see the winners are kind of coming from everywhere. We've had winners start up front. We've had winners start in the back. Guys finishing on the podium starting everywhere here. 2 years we had the pole sitter win 2 races in a row. But since then, we haven't had it. That was the last race of 2022 and first race of 2023. But yeah, I don't know. Not a huge sample size on this track, but anytime these guys are drafting, if someone just makes one false move in the wrong position, many cars can pile up here. So you had mentioned the Rex. We could potentially get a big one. We'll see how it goes. As far as what you're going to hear us talk about tonight, we talk about speed a lot on this show. Really, speed is pretty random in this package. So while we might mention it, uh, it's not really like our focus like it was at Pocono or places we've been, recently. So this should be a fun show. there's a lot of weeks where we think we're going to be very chalky and we don't end up being that way. I think tonight we could be a little different in some of these teams. So if you're new to the show, I'll head right into it. We're going to make a pick from every team you see on the left here. Each guy's going to pick one driver. Big three is going to be an extra pick from Hendricks, Joe Gibbs, or Penske. Best of the rest is going to be a pick from a team that's not listed here. And the wild card is going to be another pick from any team, any driver you haven't selected yet. We'll use real NASCAR scoring here, the NASCAR point system for each race. The winner will choose a charity and win the race. We'll donate to that charity the following week. Yeah, one thing I want to mention real quick. I know I've been talking for a while, but Daniel Cespedes on Twitter put this really cool thing up that plays right into the show and what we've been doing. How many times have these guys frustrated us when we've picked them? Like, this is the number of
This is
races
awesome.
as best finishing teammate. We've picked Alex Bowman on the show quite a bit. Never good. Hasn't been good. Like, there's other options there that have clearly been better. Same with like
The
our Brad
zero.
Keselowski picks, which we know have killed us. So I just wanted to see, Phil, have you seen this? Tino, have you seen this? I'll kick it to you, Tino. Did you see this picture earlier?
I saw it real quick, didn't have a chance to repost, but now seeing it live and really getting a good look at it is awesome. Yeah, shout out to Daniel Cespedes. I've been following him for a while, so he always puts out great stuff. But this is exactly what we do for the draft. So I know the in-season challenge is coming up as well, or is here. So that's cool to look at. But for us specifically here tonight, this is a big help as we go throughout the season, especially just keeping track of these drivers, right? Like the biggest one that stands out to me is obviously the couple of zeros, Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs, but how about Corey Heim with the one, right? Like, and even Jimmy Johnson, to see those types of wins that those drivers are getting. McDowell, even with Spire having the most. This is a really great visual for us to look at here on the show and for people to follow along with. And how about another one I'm just staring at now? John Hunter Nemechek with 9 over Eric Jones with 7. That's impressive to me to see. So, especially as the season goes on and we continue to, progress and make more races down on the schedule and get more results with some surprise winners like we talked about, to see these drivers and where they're standing. And it goes to show, right, with 23-11, sometimes a hit or miss or front row, and you see that with 7, 5, and 5. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I thought it just played directly into what we're doing every single week. It's pretty cool. Phil, did you get to see this?
Oh yeah, I loved it. As soon as you posted it, I was like locked in. Yeah, a couple takeaways for me. Surprises were like Bubba Wallace being tied with Reddick. I feel like when we kick things off, it's like, okay, it's Reddick, we move on. That's pretty wild. How about Ty Dillon? Like, we've been talking about how AJ Allmendinger's had a really good year. Like Ty Dillon almost beating him head to head for the year
We've
is pretty
picked
wild.
Dinger on here. I guess quite a bit. Like we picked Dinger a lot, and
it's just funny. Like Dinger's fighting for a playoff spot, or at least at one point he was a little bit ago, and he's getting beat by his teammate, almost 50% of the time. So, pretty wild. And yeah, I was also
Kyle
kind of
Busch,
surprised. Too. Yeah, Kyle Busch. I was kind of surprised how many times Briscoe had won for JGR. 5 times compared to Bell winning 7 and Denny with 5. That was pretty interesting to me because I feel like it was pretty rare for us to call out Briscoe as the JGR pick. So, 5 times, that's a good chunk of the races.
Shout out to me. I have Bowman and Ty Gibbs on my season-long team, so that's going great. Glad I got those guys. One being, this is like 3rd and 4th round or whatever it was. But Bowman's gotten some points for me. I can't really complain about him. But either way, all right. So that's pretty cool. If you're not following Daniel Cespedes, go follow him right now. He posts cool stuff all the time. He also posted everyone's head-to-head matchup. That's in the in-season tournament. So we also have that on Win the Race. You can look at all the fair market value for head-to-heads for every single driver against every single driver every week on Win the Race as well. So if you want to check that out, by all means, go do it and follow Daniel. All right, let's get into it. 23-11. Who wants to start this? Phil, you want to start it out this week and go with your 23-11 pick for Atlanta?
Sure, I could do that.
All right, let's do it.
I'm going with Bubba this week, kind of going to, the point I was just made, like kind of a little bit shocking that he's been good enough throughout the whole season, but kind coming to a drafting track. I trust Bubba a little bit more. You know, if you're looking at the last 7 races at Atlanta, you know, he's had some rough finishes, but you know, Reddick is also like right there. Reddick has 4 of the 7 outside the top 25. And we've got Bubba, you know, holding his own. And I think when you think of Bubba Wallace drafting tracks, I mean, it's really like, you know, Daytona comes to mind, but Bubba Wallace, I could see putting together like a 12th place finish and winning this team. He's got in the last 3 races a 5th and a 9th place finish, finished 9th in the springtime at Atlanta. So, you know, this is one where I feel just a little bit more confident, especially with Reddick overall right now. He's just a strange dude with what he's got going. Feels like when we go to tracks that he's good at, he's just not. So I'm kind of avoiding him, and I don't want to dip into the 35 team. So going with Bubba.
All right, cool. Tino, 2311. Who's your pick for Atlanta?
Yeah, it's going to be Bubba Wallace for me as well this weekend. And I share the same thought process as Phil for the most part. But one thing that I really wasn't hopping onto in terms of some theories I've heard out there with the NASCAR lawsuit and 2311 amongst that was the fact that it was hurting their on track product. And Tyler Reddick was a driver that I kind of went back to, not only on the draft, but also on my betting card at times. Didn't do anything with him last weekend at Pocono, but called him out and said, hey, maybe he's got a shot. Maybe this is like a Ryan Blaney at Nashville situation where we take our eyes off him. He has a 3.3 average finish at Pocono in the next gen era, and then he capitalizes on that. And especially with some surprise winners in SVG and Chase Briscoe, we still haven't seen Tyler Reddick step up from any sort of standpoint that we're used to from him. So Ryan, since it's going to be back to you here, what do you think about the theory that this 2311 NASCAR lawsuit that's going on right now is actually impacting their on-track product? Because that's something where I did not believe it was true up until maybe starting to let that doubt creep into my mind after seeing all 3 cars get damage at Pocono, and it was brake issues too. So are they putting their is this like a Toyota thing, moving their funds to Legacy or something like that rather than Michael Jordan's team?
Well, so do you think that all the stuff with Denny at the end of last year really affected him? Because like I did, I thought that his performance was hindered at the end of the year. Um, so I don't know if that, you know, is like the same type thing. Like it is a very mental game. Like you got to be fully focused all the time. But, you know, with that being said, if there's anywhere where I don't think any of that matters, it's here. So, you know, it's when you're drafting. But that's not why I'm picking Tyler Reddick here. I had Tyler Reddick picked all day in this. I talked about it with Eric Estep this morning on our preview segment. I just have a feeling here. You know, on that show, I have to pick a longer shot. And like, unfortunately, with odds, there are no like true longer shots anymore. It's, you know, I think he's like 20 to 1 or 25 to 1. But even though no one expects him to win, but he is, you know, it's only a 3 race sample this year, but he's tied with, you know, for the 3rd best average finish on drafting tracks in 2025. He has Gen 7 finishes of 5th and 6th at Atlanta. And earlier this year, he was top 6 in both stages and then just didn't get to finish, you know, he wanted or deserved in that race. And, you know, when I look at sleepers, I like to look at guys whose names pop out in my true performance scores on drafting tracks. And Reddick's certainly pops out. He's up there with all the big dogs that we like to see: Byron, Cindric, Stenhouse, Logano, Bubba, who you just mentioned. All these guys. Reddick's right up there with them in my true performance scores. Again, it's a small sample size, but you know we're trying to point our way in here, but I'll go with an upside pick just to be a little different because he can pop. He had a second in a 2022 Daytona race. He won at Talladega. He had a second at Daytona this year, and then mentioned, you know, has finishes of 5th and 6th here. So he can show up, and I kind of like that it's different for our purposes here. So I'll go with Tyler Reddick. Now that I said that, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of that? Phil, you're
Oh,
muted.
oh, you're muted, yeah.
Boy, sorry about that. That's bad
Oh, you're
juju
good.
coming off a win here. The thing I was going to say was like I don't hate that reasoning. You know, I was talking against him like the performance this year. the victory, Talladega. I mean, and the other thing is like, for this, it's a toss up, as we saw, from Daniel Cespedes' chart. But the comment that Brian Twining just had, 30-1 on Reddick. Like, as much as I say, yeah, I'll take Bubba over Reddick, like 30-1, that's pretty good for someone who could jump up and get it done. It's just, to me, I'd rather hold off and take Bubba in this and see Reddick, like with, my own two eyes, like actually put it together. Cause it feels like Talladega was a lifetime ago. And they've just struggled on good tracks that they're good at. So if I see that, then it's like, all right, how can we make money on Reddick? Like, he's back now. But that long shot number it's pretty good. So
this feels like the spot where he's just going to rub it in your face. Like, people have been losing money on him all year. So it's like, stop betting him.
And now we're officially off of him too after Pocono. So that, like you said, I think another thing too to mention quickly with both of our points here are one thing that I did notice, and Brian mentioned no one was really thinking about him in Dega. The part that crushed me when he won Dega in 2020 last year, 2024, that hurt me so badly because I did think about him but didn't bet him. And my thought process there was he won the duel earlier that year. So maybe it had something to do with, fast speed at a super speedway. So that was important for Tyler Reddick. But for Bubba Wallace, this year, he did also win a duel at Daytona. Maybe it has some sort of impact, like we can see. But if you don't believe in that, so Tyler Reddick wins his duel, then he wins Talladega. Austin Cindric won the duel race earlier this year. He won Talladega this year.
All right.
I'm just saying. Throwing that out
there. All right. I like that. All right. So as if this isn't hard enough, let's jump into front row, which we can never decide on who to pick every single week, no matter where we are. So I'll lead this one off. I think that this one might be a little different than what you guys are thinking, but I'm going to go with Zane Smith here. And this is like a combo of I'm not interested in Gregson at all. Like, not even close. He wasn't even in consideration here. So it was Gilliland versus Zane Smith. I'm going with Zane. One thing I found that was interesting is we're looking mainly at like 2023 through 2025 Atlanta races, just the 5 most recent ones. Just because we got like some, people switch teams, stuff like that. Like Kyle Busch is a good example. It has all top 10s here with RCR. So like people have just switched. So we're throwing out the first year of the Gen 7 car for a lot of stuff we look at. This whole team, these 3 guys, none of them have a top 10 finish in any of those 5 races. So we're really just kind of throwing darts here. But of those races, Zane Smith came the closest, has the best finish of them all of 11th, and that was most recently with his new team driving this Ford this year. So I don't have much else to say great about it, but I did like what I saw earlier this year. So give me Zane Smith. Maybe it's just some recency bias here, but I don't know what else we got to go off with these guys on drafting tracks. So give me Zane. I thought it might be a little different, and you guys might go Gilliland, but let's see. Tino, jumping back to you.
I am going with the Gilly Todd father, as Team 54 said in the chat. He's finished year 15th, 27th, 26th, 16th, 15th, 17th, 27th. I like those finishes for where we're talking about in this front row group here. Specifically with him, led laps in 2 of the last 3 races at this track. If you guys remember in 2024, the first Atlanta race, he led 58 laps, which was like a lot. I just remember he was dominant out front when they were going 4 wide, 3 wide, all behind him. And as you know, this is going to be a Ford type of race, or at least I'm assuming it is going to be, as we've seen on super speedways in the past. So yeah, Todd Gilliland, just because of his, how he's been performing at this track, but also on other super speedways in the past. I feel like you mentioned, between the other 2 drivers in this camp, he is the best. Like, he is the guy you think about when it comes to super speedway racing.
Yeah, for sure. And in my all fairness, in my they don't practice, but pre-practice and qualifying scores, what we call it every week, he is number 1 on this team for me. I was just going a little outside the box, I guess. Phil, who do you have here for front row?
I'm going with Zane as well. So Gilliland, I don't mean to sound like a broken record for anyone who keeps track of this stuff, but Gilliland, when it comes to super speedways or drafting tracks, it's Talladega for me. like that's where I have Gillen from all the data. He's good there, and those numbers like kind of make him look better at Daytona. And when you pull the comp track numbers in, the last two races, Zane Smith's 2-0 against Todd Gillen. Noah Gragson is completely out to lunch. So like not even a thought. And I immediately went to the DraftKings has, because the in-season tournament, they've got head-to-heads on every single matchup. I was like, who the hell is Gregson matched up against? Because I'm taking that, no matter what, just for myself to, and it's Briscoe -205. Like I'm going to take that, probably put it with the Phillies on Saturday and do something with it. But Gregson's not worth it. So yeah, I'm going with Zane Smith. Gilliland, it's like it feels like Gilliland's ceiling is like 15th. Whereas Zane, came out of this, like 10th or 11th in the spring. Like Zane is one to have those like wonky top 10s, and then just like fall off a cliff the next week. So I'll go with Zane Smith here. And we'll see. We'll see if Brian's right, see if he's going to put it on the poll too. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, and the thing about Gillen too, like you look at his last 4 starts here. I'm just on Loop Edge right now. 5th, 3rd, 4th, 9th. So his last 4 starts. I mean, he's starting up front. And he can't finish there. So that's kind of what turned me off about him. We'll talk about
That's
some other guys, some bigger names that kind of have done the same thing, but I think you get it. Go
that's the
ahead,
thing
though.
about Gillen in Atlanta is like he rides around with the big dogs, like
Mhm.
in the Ford camp, and he's like a factor. He's like a bridesmaid to those guys, like just kind of pushing them
Yeah.
and being part of the show. Sometimes he leads, like jumps up front, but he just can't get finishes. And there's
Yeah,
another guy that's like that as well.
it seems like when the big guys are ready to make their move, they're like, "Okay, son, get out of the way now."
Get out of the way, children.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with him.
Gregson has 5 DNFs in his 7 Gen 7 Atlanta
Oh
races.
my.
There's only one other driver with 5 DNFs out of 7 races. Do you want to guess who it is? We're
Cody
heading into
Ware.
their team right now.
Oh. Oh, Kyle Larson.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll
Wow.
tell you who I won't be picking this next round.
I love that. I love that we just said that.
All right. So with that being said, let's head right into Team Hendricks here. HMS boys for Atlanta. Phil, why don't you lead this one off?
Well, interesting one to go first on, I think. I'll tell you what, Larson, I'm not taking Larson, but we were just downplaying him. He has improved this season. If you're looking at like this season, so maybe we'll come back to him later. But going Chase, Chase Elliott, it's just kind of like, we talked about it last week at Pocono. It's just like, will he be there to pick up points? Yeah. And at Atlanta, he's only got 6 races, but 3 top 10s, 5 for 6, finishing inside the top 15. 100% hit rate, finishing inside the top 20. Worst finish was this past spring, 20th place. So Chase Elliott's one that I think could win the race, and it's just kind of the safe pick, I think, in the Hendrick camp.
All right. I would agree with that. He's kind of like that everywhere. I mean, that's what we say about him every week, almost everywhere we go. It's like Chase is going to get you a finish this week. I'm going to switch it up here. I'm going with William Byron for my pick here. Um, and I have a stat too about Larson, and it's kind of right with William Byron. There's only 5 guys. And so take that 2023 through 2025 Atlanta race that I was talking about, 5 races, the most recent. There's only 5 guys who are running over 60% of their laps inside the top 10. William Byron and Kyle Larson are 2 of those guys. But the difference is William Byron's got an average finish, over 10 spots higher than Kyle Larson. So he's getting the finishes. Proven winner too, has won this race twice. Or 2 Gen 7 Atlanta races. So and other drafting tracks in general. So a proven winner, someone who can get a good finish even when he's not winning. Give me William Byron here. Tino, who do you have for HMS?
All right, boys. Well, we've talked about it a couple
Oh,
times. Oh,
real quick. It only took us 2 rounds to all be different tonight. You gotta love that. That's Atlanta. All right,
That's
sorry,
right.
Tino. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Because I'm still trying to think of other ways I could spin this to make people think I'm not a crazy guy, but I am a crazy guy. And I'm going with Kyle Larson. Here's
Oh, yeah.
here's why. Okay, I'm not just someone that looks at that third place finish at Atlanta and says, "Oh, he's good. He's good at super speedways." I know he's not good at getting finishes at super speedways, but the thing to me is he's always been fast at them, always, and he's just a little too aggressive. He finds himself in a wreck at almost every track. Well, now the way I've seen his career unfolding at super speedways the last few years is that he's been getting better. Like maybe it just finally took him a top 3 to finally get what he deserved in terms of a finishing result. And we're talking that was a third place finish. Then he has 37, 32nd, 36, 31st, 13th, 30th. Like I know what I'm getting myself into with Kyle Larson this weekend. I'm not telling people to go out and bet on him either, but I do think the time is now where he can turn this potential momentum into another good result here and potentially a win, because the race he did run at Atlanta earlier this year was a strong race. He finished first in stage 2 as well. So he was up there and he was able to contend up there throughout the whole race. I think from a growth standpoint in terms of Kyle Larson, I can see him potentially getting it done here.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned how often he's been running up inside the top 10. I mean, he's there, like you said. So, man, 3 picks through this. We were already different after the second round, and we go different on all 3 drivers HMS. We're not having our second tie this week, that's for sure. So, one of us is taking it down. All right, Tino, I'm going to stick with you. Why don't you lead us off here for JGR?
All right, the comments are coming after me here after my Kyle Larson, but I love it. Keep them coming, boys. So in this one, Phil mentioned one thing to us earlier in our group chat, and he said, he's been going back to back with a certain driver from this camp, and it's been doing him well. So I'm going to take his advice in this one. I'm going Ty Gibbs. Give me Ty
Wow.
Gibbs. Here's the reason why. A little bit of a breakdown for you. I like Chase Briscoe's momentum from last week, but I'm staying off of him there. Denny Hamlin still hasn't really seemed to get in his fire back from recently in terms of super speedways. And then now that kind of leaves me with Ty Gibbs and or other JGR driver and Christopher Bell. And I just feel like this could be Ty Gibbs' week. I'm just thinking for a top 10 finish, he can get it done. And Team 54 is not happy that I picked him, but I'm doing it anyways.
Oh, that's awesome. You got Kyle Larson to Ty Gibbs. If the people didn't think you were crazy, now they do. I love it. All right, I'll go with my pick here. It's Christopher Bell. For me, it was just a matter of, again, like this was kind of close to me between all 4 guys really. But Bell, I mean, not only does he win the last time out here, he has other Gen 7 finishes here of 3rd and 4th. But then I'm like, all right, well, how does he do like everywhere drafting? Well, if we just look at Atlanta, Gen 7 races, he's got the best average finish of all of his teammates. And then I look, all right, what's he do at Daytona and Talladega? Best average finish in Gen 7 era of all of his teammates. So he's just getting better finishes than all these guys. And we're trying to point our way in here to a draft victory. So give me Christopher Bell simply because he's been getting better finishes than all of his teammates throughout from 2022 on. So I'll take Bell. Phil, who do you got here for JGR?
Yeah, man. I hate this whole camp.
Yeah.
This is not fun to choose between these guys, which usually they are. I'd like to be different and go Hamlin, just for fun. So I guess I'll do that. I'll spin it. I mean, Bell is definitely the pick, I think. But like
I mean, if that's the pick and your favorite, we're already different.
yeah, it's true. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, I think the ceiling's highest with Bell. So I'll thank you for talking me off that ledge just to be fun here. Denny's got 4 finishes outside the top 20. And the best finish, he's never had a top 5 here. Bell's got 3 finishes inside the top 6. So, he seems to have figured it out. And the finishes that Bell hasn't done great at, or haven't finished it, he was running well. So, Yeah, we'll go Christopher Bell for those reasons.
Denny
I don't want to get cute.
doesn't Denny seem like he like comes into a race with a plan, and then he really executes it too. When he's like, "Well, this race, I want to be up front. I don't want to be in the back." And like you'll find him up front, or like we've seen him say before, like, "Well, I'm going to hang back," and then like that doesn't work out well for him.
Yeah.
So, but like I don't think we know what his plan is going to be.
Not anymore. He's been doing the ride in the back. Like he's been, so to your point, the first half of this next gen era, it's been ride in the front because he's just dominant on all super speedways. He's gone into a wreck. Then it's ride in the back. And the last few times, I remember I picked him for one Atlanta race, and it was betting or Johnny on the tracks, fantasy leagues or something at Atlanta. And it was so brutal because he only ran around in the back and then still got involved in a wreck with
Still
the
wrecked out.
spoil. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, dude. Yeah, so, like, I think that alone, like, I just wanna stay away from him. I don't know. He's, like, scary now. Alright, let's go to Team Penske. This, could be a little chalky with 3 potential spots you could pick Penske drivers, and if the people don't know what they do here, we can tell them about it. I'll start it out here, go with my pick. I'm gonna start it out with Ryan Blaney. Um, just the number 1 average finish here in 5 in the last 5 Atlanta races. I don't know what I wrote there, but he's he's got the best average finish here in the last 5 Atlanta races. One of only 2 drivers with an average finish in that time in single digits. So it's him and just one other guy just absolutely stomping the field. I think the last time, I think it was the last race where he got like wrecked and they fixed the car and then he raced
Yep.
back for a top
Put
5
tires
finish.
on it. That was
before.
Hosevar. Hosevar
Mhm.
knocked him out of the. I think it was he leading too.
Yeah, they're battling for the lead.
Cindric,
I think.
Cindric was up there, I
Mm.
think, leading, but Blaney was leading at one point in that race, and I think he battled and came right back. Benefactor of a few different wrecks, but he was able to make it all the way back in the top 5.
Yeah, if people listening don't know, when we get to Atlanta, the Penske guys, Brian Blaney, Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano, are the 3 favorites to win the race at any sports book. Their Team Penske's like plus 190 to win on most books. I know Greg, put out he found it 250 early in the week, so some of the guys got on that. But they are just great. They run around up front all day. So no matter who picks who here for Team Penske, I'll switch it up here in the graphic. They're not going to be wrong. So I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney here. When I did my pre-practice and qualifying scores, he came out as number 1. So give me him. Phil, jumping right back to you. Who do you got for Penske?
Yeah, I see Sean's comment there. I guess this isn't my only chance to choose Logano. I'm not going to choose him here because I want the graphic to be easier to follow. I'm taking Ryan Blaney in this pick. He is just the guy, and it's more of a handling track than the other 2, but like he's so good on super speedways. Blaney was good at old Atlanta, and now he's also good at drafting track. So now Atlanta is a drafting track. It's just like the perfect fit for him. It's almost like somebody did this for him. I mentioned that on my pod with our guest this week. So yeah, I mean, the last 3 races, second, third, fourth, like he's, it's amazing. If we're calling this a drafting track, Sean, it's just amazing how consistent someone can be on a drafting track. So yeah, Blaney's my pick for this round.
Yeah, he hasn't started a Gen 7 race here outside of 6th place. He's qualified second, sixth, third, second, sixth, second, first. And it's in his last 6 finishes, 5, 7, 9, 2, 3, 4. He's there. He's gonna win one of them. So yeah, Blaney, awesome here. Tino, who do you have for Team Penske?
All right. Well, the time has come. Team Penske is here, and it's Tino Patino's chance because Sean McBride commented in the chat. For those who don't see, he said, "My best friend," in quotes, Tino didn't mention he was live. Well, Sean, we go live for the draft every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. sharp. And if I don't send you a link, you can just assume to check my Twitter or Win the Race on YouTube, Twitter as well. But that's okay. Wonder if it's because he's not picking Joey Logano in this one. Well, Sean McBride, I know what to do here. I'm going Ryan Blaney. You think I'm
Yeah, there we
crazy?
go.
Get me even crazier now. Come on. Ryan Blaney, this is his time. Yeah, he may be the favorite to win this race outright, but I think he's going to do it. And this is why people are talking about in the chat having a 6.7 average finish is insane, said Brian. And Sean doubles down with saying, I'm dead to him. Well, Sean, don't eggs out just yet. There's still one more segment here called the Big Three, and we're going to be talking about some other drivers here. Sam Hall says, great pick, though. Appreciate you, Sam Hall.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue into a big three pick because I've had this written down all day, Joey Logano. So I hope that they love that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that just goes straight across the board here too. We'll see. But in the 2023 through 2025 Atlanta races, the 5 race sample, only Blaney and Logano have spent more than 50% of their laps running inside the top 5. That's just insane. Insane. So the finishes just got to be there. They're not always there. For Blaney, they are. But give me Joey Logano here. Phil, we're just going to go in order here. Who do you have for your big three?
Yeah, I'm going Logano. It's funny because we talk about how good Blaney is, talk about how good Cindric has been. Ford has 2 victories in the next gen car at Atlanta. They're both Joey Logano. So he's one of those guys where, he doesn't have to be consistent in order to, jump up and get a win. He won the second race of the year in 2024 at Atlanta. So 2 wins and a 9th and a 12th in there. Like he's someone that could definitely jump up, and I mean, he's going to be leading laps. 2025 drafting tracks, those 3 races, he's average starting position of 5.7. I think it matters more here than other of the 2 big tracks. So that's important. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't let this draft go by without having Logano. So hopefully Sean isn't too disappointed, even though we didn't take him in the Penske group. Big 3 is where I wanted him.
Yeah, Joey Logano, March 19th, 2023. I'm watching March Madness down in Albany live. Logano wins that race, buys us some new floors upstairs. Let's go, Logano. So that's a big day for me. It's one that I'll always remember. I was watching it with my friend John. We were watching March Madness, and I just started screaming and just started pounding beers. So it was a great time, great games that day too. All right, Tino, are you gonna do it, or what are you gonna do here?
Well, just like Sean McBride, I appreciate Sean and Sam in the chat here, two my best friends ever. And Sam saying that I don't care, I gotta be different here. Well, you know what? Sam, you're wrong. Give me Joey Logano. Come on, Sean. Be my friend again. Put him on the board. You guys know it. It's Joey Logano or it's Ryan Blaney this week. You can't go wrong with either one. And Sean McBride, I hope you're happy.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. Tino, you were bringing the energy tonight, and I freaking love it.
I love how you're talking shit to both of your friends at different times.
Yeah.
Just...
All right. We head to RFK. This is a funny one because if we look at Cespedes' picture from earlier, Keselowski's just getting throttled here. Buescher's destroying everyone. With that being said, I guess I'll never learn. I'll go first again. I'm going Brad Keselowski. I don't know. I just can't stay away from him here. When I scored everything before the week started, I really thought Buescher was going to be higher. I really did. Like, there was nothing really to like about it. Where Brad, has popped at times. So I don't know, man. Like, it's tough. You get to a drafting track and you're like, man, there's so much I could talk about with Brad Keselowski, but that's typically like the larger drafting tracks in his history there. But I have to take him here because I just think he's the best at it, or one of the best at it to ever do it. So give me Brad K here. Tino, I'm going to jump right back to you. What do you got here for RFK?
Well, I'll say this about Brad. When Joey Logano won those floors for you at Atlanta, Brad was right up there with him. There was like almost a photo finish between those 2 guys. I appreciate Channy22 in the chat saying Priest is going to be the right answer. Well, I don't think so. I guess I'm just not agreeing with any of the chat tonight. So I'm going Chris Buescher. And I like Chris Buescher
Oh,
in this one because my gut tells me Brad Keselowski. Anytime my gut is saying that, it's been wrong. This could be a chance where we see Brad get a win because of those surprise guys like SVG and Chase Briscoe, if that trend continues there. But one thing that I'm noticing with Chris Buescher recently in the past few weeks in the season, he's been getting that uptick in speed. We saw Kansas, he was fast. Michigan as well, obviously. We took a little break in Mexico, but he still finished top 10. Pocono, he was riding right there around Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, who were the fastest drivers all day. To me, I think this is the chance where we need to sort of realize that speed's just not coming at, random times. It's coming at each of these different tracks individually this season. I think that uptick is going to play him a factor here in this one. And I got a shout out to Kyle in the chat who's saying, do you guys like betting Ford over betting Penske to win this weekend? Phil, I know this is your bread and butter here when it comes to that stuff. So what do you think?
Well, so I had Chris from the Flag Hunting Podcast on as our guest this week on my pod, and he was fully ready for me because I had Ford written down as my manufacturer pick. That's how I play my cards. We talked about it a bunch. He talked me into Penske because Penske was going plus 250 on Bovada when we were recording. So I lowered my unit allocation for that. If I was going Ford, because that team bet isn't as readily available. Like not everybody has Bovada, or the standard books don't really have it. So I like Ford, but like I was fully ready to throw Ford out there, but it does feel like if it's going to win, it's going to come from the Penske group. So, I got convinced to throw Penske in as my pick, but if as long as the number kind of matches up, right? I do see like Bet 365 has it 2-1 for Penske. I think I'd rather have Ford at plus 140 or plus 130 at that number, but plus 250 was too much to ignore. With that being said, Big Ross is dead on, man. I'm going Ryan Preece. Had Preece written down all day. Last 3 races at Atlanta, head-to-head versus Brad Keselowski, 3-0 Ryan Preece. Last 2 races for Chris Buescher, 2-0 Ryan Preece. You go back the last 5 races against Buescher, he's 3-2 versus Buescher. So I'm not just cherry picking, different spots. Buescher and Brad have had their success. Like they've had like spot races where they've done really well. And trust me, for the season long stuff, I'm dying for Brad, like to step up here, dying. And he's looking up. This is his like last shot. This TNT stretch, he's got nothing. This is it. So, the chance for Brad is now. But Ryan Preece, man, he's just going to cruise along. Maybe he gets up in there with the Gillans of the bunch, like kind of, hey, I can help you guys out, the Penske crew. But, he'll finish 16th, 17th, 18th, and I think he wins this because Brad and Buescher are going to be up there, going to get caught up in something. And there's Ryan Preece winning this group. So we're all different here, but for me, it's more of the more conservative. Just over those last 3 races, he's been in that like mid pack pretty much every time.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. There's no wrong pick there for RFK. It's these guys. Again, the Ford camp. I like what you said too about the plus 250 for Penske only. More of a number thing. As that dips down, then yeah, Ford becomes more appealing. So totally agreed with all that as well. Let's shift gears here and head into a Chevy camp, Inspire. Phil, I'm gonna let you lead this one off. Who do you have for your Spire driver?
Well, I have a pick when you guys are done talking. I have a bet to bring up, but I'm not going to talk about that guy for the draft because I do want Michael McDowell in the draft. He is someone that, he's 11th in average finish in the next gen car here, 15.3. He is got a 4th place and 8th place, finished 13th in the spring. But like this season, he is the only driver on the drafting tracks to have 3 top 15 finishes. 0 top 10s, but 3 top 15 finishes. The only guy in the field. So when we talk about head-to-head matchups, when we talk about the draft, I say it every week. I just need guys who are consistent, who I can trust. And it's tough to trust guys on drafting tracks, but with McDowell, he's proven he's got a resume that I can do that. So McDowell is my pick here for the draft.
Nice. I have a random stat here, and fast laps are pretty random, like we talked about it on these drafting tracks and these drafting races. But worth noting, 3 drafting races this year, Spire is 1, 2, and 3 in fast lap percentage. So I just found that to
Wow.
be interesting. They are completely random. You could have, some turd car get the most fast laps or whatever. But I just thought that was kind of interesting because, like you said, the finishers are there to back it up. And then my pick here is going to be Carson Hocevar, who we saw was very fast last time we were here. And it's kind of like what you said about Busher, like being fast everywhere, Tino. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of how I feel about Hocevar. It's like everywhere we go, the kid's fast. Just can he put it all together? I really liked what I saw from him at that first Atlanta race. But if we look at the 3 drafting races as a whole this year, I do my true performance scores for those. And while there might be an asterisk next to those, just because they're probably not as sticky as other tracks, they have worked for us in the past. I mean, we hit quite a few bets on drafting tracks winners, and Hocevar right now after 3 races in the top 4 with William Byron, Austin Cindric, and Ricky Stenhouse, who we would all agree are great drafting racers. So that's not just looking at his good Atlanta run. That's looking at all 3. So that really stuck out to me as maybe he's, starting to get it. So give me Carson Hocevar here again. It's one of those things. Their teammate too is good drafting racer. So it's like I don't think you can go wrong here. Tino, who do you have for Spire?
Yep, I agree with Carson Hocevar. You can throw him on my board here, and especially you alluded to it. You mentioned I won't go too long talking about him as well, but I think the biggest key is the fact that he's been fast recently and consistently this season. And I think that is something that pays off at super speedways. If he can keep it clean, which we know he's definitely not the best at, but being aggressive at Atlanta does pay off. Like I feel like this is a track where you're always on edge. Talladega, that's not really the case anymore. They're just riding around in a circle, and we saw that in the recent race, that they had there this year. That was a little disappointing. Well, Atlanta, you're seeing moves being made. You're seeing drivers push the issue. Who else is better than doing that right now than Hocevar, especially when it comes to passing other guys? I know I want to see him finish the race, as Channy mentioned in the chat as well. And he's also saying stay away from Stenhouse. Well, you're going to love my next pick. But that's why I like Carson Hocevar in here.
All right, awesome. Well, you just teased it. So why don't you head into best of the rest here and let us know who you got?
Well, it's gonna have to be so as we saw in Pocono, right? Especially live in person was awesome. We know that there's beef between these two drivers, Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Them going for the lead, into turn 1 together at that track was special to see. And I think we see that here again at Atlanta. And that's why I'm going with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as my best of the rest. Could be a little risky, but why not risk it for Ricky in this one? To me, his last 4 finishes prove the difference. 5th, 14th, 6th, and 10th. Now, keep in mind, all of these finishes are from him starting 27th and worse. That is all right. Sean McVine in the chat saying I'm bad vibes. I don't think I am. I think I'm the best vibes possible. I just went with Stenhouse Jr. in the draft. So lock in Sean McBride. You don't know what you're talking about, and I do. And this is what I think. This is a pivotal moment. I think that might be a clip I just aura farmed to potentially get the win in this draft this weekend. But okay. For Ricky too, I just feel like he's been great at all these super speedways. With him having those finishes when starting towards the back, that's what I want. I want to find a driver that can get past all the wrecks and potentially sneak in for a top 5 or top 10. He's the guy this weekend. I like that more than going with a driver that I think is going to be starting up front and leading, because I think a wreck is going to happen, and I want to try to get someone that's going to be able to avoid that.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I was between Ricky and one other guy here for this pick. We have to clip. You don't know what you're talking about. I do. We have to clip that out. That's like, who do you think you are? I am. Like
Yeah,
that's
big
on
time.
that level. So Tino, you got to clip that, or I'll clip it. We'll talk about that after the show. All right. Phil, I'll lead right into you. Who do you want here for your best of the rest? I have mine marked down already. I'm not going to change. Let us know who you got here.
Okay. I will say I like Ricky 45-1 as a sprinkle play. I talked
Where's
about
that
that.
at?
That was on DraftKings when I took it. So yeah, I mean, you might be able to find them at a better number, but my pick for best of the rest is going to be Daniel Suarez.
Oh, wow.
I like that. I
This
like that.
this is one that so I got Suarez for a top 10 at plus 150. Um, it's that's not who you have, right, Ryan? I'm gonna
No,
guess.
nope.
Okay, Suarez. I I, I can't tell because I don't have the ability to like find this out in an instant, but like this has to be his best track. Has to be. At least in the next gen car. Like it's pretty wild that it's a drafting track and you need a little bit more handling. And Daniel Suarez is third in average finish in the next gen car, and he's got 5 top 6 finishes, 5 top 6s. That's crazy. Finished 33rd in the spring. That sucks. But before that, second, first in that photo finish, then second before that. So he is someone that I can't overlook. And
Yeah,
it seems. Go
since
ahead.
2022, all tracks he's been at least 5 times. It's his best average finish.
There we go. I mean, so when you see stuff like that, I got to jump on it and try to take advantage of it. I have to imagine that they're fired up for this stretch. Think about because you have road courses, Sonoma, he's good at, street course, who the hell knows? But you think about what he's dealing with, right? Chris called it out on our podcast. Like, since he won that Xfinity Series race in Mexico, SVG won, and then Connor Zilic won at Pocono. So like nothing is really going his way. He got to celebrate for like 20 hours.
Poor
And
guy.
so
Poor guy.
he needs it, dude. He
Yeah.
needs to get something going. This is the perfect, it's just what the doctor ordered from a statistical standpoint. So Suarez is my pick.
Did you see SVG is going to be racing the Junior Motorsports 9 in the Xfinity race, I think at Chicago?
No,
I think
I
it's
did
at
not.
Chicago. I think it's
Yeah.
at
Yeah. Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So
Austin
that'll be
Cleveland.
a lot of fun. Both Red Bull cars too, Connor
Mhm.
Zilic and SVG. That'll be sick.
Love those Red Bull cars.
All right. My pick here, different than both of yours, although Stenhouse, it was a coin flip really between Stenhouse and this guy, but I am going to go with Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, real simple here for me. In that, the last 5 Atlanta races, the most recent ones, 2023 through 2025, only 2 drivers have an average finish in single digits. I talked about it when I talked about Ryan Blaney, the other driver, Kyle Busch. They're the only 2 drivers with top 10 finishes in all 5 of those races. And for Kyle Busch, it's all 5 with RCR. So I really like Kyle Busch this weekend. I think that a lot of people are noticing now that in the Gen 7 era, he's a really good drafting racer with RCR. I was going to look because I didn't know how Reddick did with RCR. It was like an RCR thing. He qualified fifth and fourth, wrecked out of both races. So Reddick didn't do great. But I think he had speed, though, if he started in top 5 in both of those. So yeah, I think I like RCR here. I like Kyle Busch. The finishes are there, and on this show, we're trying to get the points, like we always say. So give me that. I'll head right into the wild card pick here. This one was a very easy one for me, super chalky, and I don't care. I'm taking Austin Cindric. I wanted all 3 Penske guys on my team when we started the show, not just following the odds, although they are correct that these guys are, should be the favorites. Our 20,000 simulations on win the race, I totally agree. They have those 3 guys listed 1, 2, 3. So I want Austin Cindric here for all the reasons we've talked about all night long. Dudes are just, those 3 are running up front all the time at Gen 7 Atlanta and really just drafting tracks in general. So give me Austin Cindric. Phil, jumping right back to you, and we'll let Tino close it out, as I think that was the order we were
Mhm.
supposed to go in.
Yep.
Yes. Good.
Yeah, I like the Austin Cindric pick. I definitely agree. I'm not going to do it though. I am going to be different for the sake of being different, but it's not like the RFK situation. I feel good about, or I guess it was JGR we were talking about.
Yeah.
A little bit different here. I'm going right to the same team that I had best in the rest. I'm going with Ross Chastain. I like him for a top 10 this week. Points wise, like I think he's good at getting points. Both, and I kind of missed this point with Suarez, but the same point comes here as well with Chastain. When you mix in the big tracks, Talladega and Daytona, these two disappear. But when you're just when you include Atlanta, they start to bubble up. And then when you remove the big tracks, these guys jump off the page. And so I want them as part of my team. I want both of them. Chastain 2022, twos were wild. He finished second both of those races. But the last three, 7th, 13th, 8th, he has 6 top 13 finishes. One bad finish in 2023 where he finished like dead last. And he was probably running up towards the top 10 in that race anyway. So Chastain is another guy like Suarez. He's figured out this track. He knows how to be fast here. He knows how to stay, in that top 10 amidst all the chaos. So I like having both these trackhouse guys.
Yeah. What's crazy is it reminds me of just where the betting landscape has gone, because when Suarez won that race, we were betting Trackhouse. It was like me and Mark, I think, had it betting Trackhouse to win the race at like 16-1, 18-1. Trackhouse numbers now are 9-1. Yeah, everything's kind of cut in half. Just kind of crazy to see where we're at compared to even just a year ago, and then it makes you really sick to look at a year before that. And so yeah, it's getting harder and harder. Um, I forgot to mention bets on Kyle Busch and William Byron. I have both of them for a top 10. They were both plus 125 on Canby books. So if anyone can find any of those Canby books and get down on it, I think it's like Rivers, Valley, like all those type things. If you can just search around, find if they still have plus money top 10s on Byron or Kyle Busch. I love those. But yeah, I don't know. That just really stuck out to me because I was like, I remember we celebrated when Suarez, got that photo finish or whatever, and it was like a great hit. But now, like, you just can't find those numbers anymore, so it's just tough. But Tino, why don't you? I hate to be Debbie Downer here, trying to be Tino. Bring that energy back up here for your wild card pick. So go ahead. I'll stop crying.
All right, all right, all right. It's time. And it's my favorite time. And normally when I'm in this spot in the closer, I'm able to make a pick that wins me the draft overall, but it's been a little bit for me. So guys, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate everyone. Awesome comments. Great show thus far. Who do you think I'm going to pick for my wild card as I continue to get there slowly? Team 54 put one in there already. I see a comment there. I got a shout out to my family in Florida who's tuning in right now. Appreciate all of them. They've been watching the last couple episodes of the draft, telling me, I got to be better, got to have some picks go my way. They've been tuning in, so I appreciate them. And this pick right here is for them because, I have 7 wins overall this year, and I'm really looking for number 8. Number 8. That's Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
Give me Kyle Busch. Let's
let's
go.
go.
Now is his time. You talk about random crazy winners that need to lock themselves into the NASCAR playoffs. This is his chance. T54 said it. Give me him there. And Ryan, you mentioned it. Ryan Blaney's got a 5.2 average finish at the track, but Kyle Busch in the last 5 races, a 6.4. And that's what I need. And you picked him, and we're not going to be a little bit similar here. Best of the rest wild card. But I love Kyle Busch in this spot here. If I'm picking anyone else aside from the 4 drivers, it's got to be Kyle Busch in this one. I really believe this can be his chance to get that win, and we can see it happening this weekend. And I hope Saturday night I'm going to sleep with my 8th draft victory for number 8, Kyle Busch.
Awesome. I love it. What a great draft that was. I mean, we are, I think, more different than we've been all season long. So when we're texting each other this weekend, it's gonna be fun. We'll see what happens. And I guess, yeah, I can't believe I'm the only one that took all 3 Penske, but that's the beauty of Atlanta. All the reasoning, all the picks are great. This will be a lot of fun. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Again, crazy good, a lot of people viewing here and, triple digits on the comments. That's awesome to see on a Wednesday night at 8 from 8:30 to 9:30. So really appreciate you guys tuning in live. If you ever do, well, I always say this at the end, and I don't know why, because if you're listening right now, you've already watched the show or listened to it, but we do have it in podcast form. So if you are listening and there is a week where you can't catch it, just go on iTunes or Spotify or whatever, and you can catch the replay of it on there. We post it, that night. It's up and live after we record. It'll be live in 30 minutes. So thank you guys so much. Make it a lot of fun. Phil, you'd mentioned your podcast earlier. Please plug that right now to everyone where they can find it, because your picks have been on fire.
Yeah, hopefully we keep it up. But yeah, appreciate that. And this was so fun. A lot of great comments, very good comedy in the chat tonight.
Mhm.
But yeah, Full Tank with Phil is the name of the podcast. This week I had on Chris from the Flag Hunting Podcast. Those guys haven't been able to put out an episode in a while, so it was great to get Chris back on the mic. And we had a great conversation about Atlanta, talked about the in-season tournament. He had a great breakdown of why he chose someone as an outright winner and placed some bets on. He convinced me on that one, so good. Check that out. Chris is also my fill-in on the draft, so it was good to chop it up with him. And you might be seeing him in a couple weeks if he's available. So, yeah, give me a follow, Instagram, Full Tank Phil or X, same thing. And I hope everyone has a great Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it, cracking some adult beverages and watching this draft roster come home for me. So, have a good weekend, everybody.
Yes, sir. You guys will be going head to head against Greg next week. He's filling in for me, so I'll miss you guys for the Chicago show. But I also have the guy who's 1-0 when he's filled in, so you guys are up against it. Tino, where can everyone find your great work?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate everyone in the chat. Before I shout myself out, I'm going to shout out every single one. Here we go. Team 54, Brian, Sean McBride, Sam Hall. They're bringing the heat tonight. I appreciate them. Channy 22 with some great points. Robert in the chat. Big Ross is always here. I appreciate them. We got Kyle. I already mentioned Brian. I'll say him again. Everyone, Neil in the chat. Appreciate you. Mau Magi JG. Shout out to them. And really everyone that does pop in here, whether it's one comment, questions, things that are more than that, James and Steelers as well. It was such a great time to read all of them, and it always is each and every week for you guys that bring the great comments to the show. And even if you're not commenting, you're just listening or watching, that still means a lot to us too. So for me, you can follow me at Tino, PATTIGNO, all across my social medias. I'll be on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90, and Tubi TV Friday morning, 7:45-ish a.m. for my best bet segment. I will also be back on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio on Saturday morning for Nuke the House. I'll be back with those guys there, giving you some best bets and fun plays for Atlanta. So that'll be super fun. So tune in there. Some more stuff potentially on the social media platforms as well if I can get them out. But I loved how the draft went down tonight, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned Nuke the House in the bottom there. If you're live betting any sport, doesn't even have to be just NASCAR, tune in to Nuke the House. Guys are awesome. Keg and crew, always crushing it. Shout out to Grid Rival. We had in Discord earlier, someone was like, "Hey, I listened to these 2 or 3 NASCAR podcasts. I'm looking for another one." Boom, Brian was in there. So, Angle of Pursuit. You see it right in the bottom of the screen there. Search that. iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. Kyle and Brian do a great job of breaking down the entire field for betting and for DFS over the weekend. So 2 shows a week. Great stuff there. Check out Out of the Groove with Eric Estep. I do my previews with him typically on Wednesdays. We did one today, so if you go to his channel tonight, you'll see what we talked about today and hear a lot of the same stuff. But we did talk about some other drivers as well. But yeah, appreciate everyone. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Thank you guys. You make it awesome. All the great stats and data that I'm talking about all night long are win the race. 40% off, $30 a month now throughout the rest of the year. So check it out, wintherace.info. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the race this weekend.